with all due respect.
We are recording in progress.
Perfect.
So we are going to welcome everybody to the first episode of
With all due respect.
With All Due Respect is the podcast we have started. I thought of many other names. Thought of names like What We Don't Need is another podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sick of everybody who does podcasts, everybody who wants to do a podcast. I think we're just throwing ourselves into the water. And is it really a podcast, or is it just us doing videos talking about stuff we like to talk about with people that we like?
Yeah, like a little bit of ranting.
Yeah. And do we even bring on people,
Therapy.
do we bring on people and guests that we don't like?
Probably.
I think that's good entertainment, right?
I think so too.
If you surround yourself with people that you always agree with, how boring is that? But yes, this is the first episode of With All Due Respect. I liked it I like the name With All Due Respect. My guess is there's probably other people that call their podcast With All Due Respect, but with all due respect, I don't care. Right.
That's why we chose it.
That's why we chose it. And I think we chose it because one of the things that we want to do is create an honest platform to talk about things like health, wellness, fitness, sports performance, sports culture, fitness, health culture, fitness
Nutrition.
culture, nutrition. I mean, that's a broad discussion, right?
100%. And it's a very vulnerable discussion for a lot of people. So we're going to definitely have some opinions on here where they're going to be a little harsh.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, but loving.
Loving, but true
Yeah.
and harsh.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where With All Due Respect comes in, because like with all due respect, I get your feelings, but
yeah,
this is what science is telling us.
It has been told it has been told to me that all change starts with the truth. And sometimes we want to have people on we disagree to come at us with a different viewpoint, right?
100%.
We're going to talk about, if you've never watched our content, never been a client of ours, we run a business called Phnm Brand Nutrition and Fitness.
Yeah. What's your name, by the way?
Josh Ortegon is my name. You are Gray Gaines. And we run Phenom Brand Fitness and Nutrition. It's basically online coaching. Another market that what we don't need is more online coaches, right? I mean, I feel like we would come into the cliche of who we didn't want to be. But
whatever.
But we have both still work with people in person. I work in the strength and conditioning, performance, wellness environment with Phenom Brand. Also something I do. You still train people in person. We agreed that that is an important thing to do, right? To still interact with human beings, whether it's what I do in a strength and conditioning and wellness environment for youth athletes, general population people, working with nutrition with people online or in person, you training people in person. I think that gives us well-rounded. I've worked in this industry for many, many, many years, many, many different areas, from owning my own business of performance to our business to strength conditioning, the high school environment, the college environment, professional athletes. And I think over that time, working in that such a large realm of people has given me the experience to talk about a lot of things I want to talk about. Right.
Definitely.
Give us a little bit about Gray Gaines.
Yeah. As Josh said.
And how your real name is Sarah.
Oh, don't tell people that. It's a secret. As Josh said, my name is Gray. I've only been in this atmosphere, this world, for about 5 years now. I'm actually entering my 5th year come April, which is really exciting. But I've learned from some of the best, absolutely. I tell my clients all the time, be a multidimensional athlete. So I also like to think of myself and push myself to be a multidimensional coach. I think that's how people really do well in this business, and actually teach people how to do well is, can we cover not only nutrition and exercise, but can we cover sleep? Can we cover stress? Can we cover any kind of mental issue that might go into what you're learning about and what you're trying to do, your habit change? So not only do I online coach with a bunch of different clients, I also teach at Spenga, which is a national corporation. But We have one in South Carolina here, so that's
Mhm,
where I am a lot of my week as well. So in person with people, actually teaching them, you know, what is exercise? What is good nutrition? What is good overall habit change?
mhm, mhm. One of the topics I'm really interested in covering, and when we talk about what is the purpose of this podcast, is we want to be a resource for people for all things health and wellness. But one of the things I'm really interested in is healthy sports culture for kids, healthy sports culture for parents, healthy sports culture for coaches. What does that look like? What are the issues we're facing? Why are we dealing with such an obesity crisis, an overweight crisis, an unhealthy crisis? How do we stop that with kids? How do we start that with kids? Um, what does that look like? Um, that's something topics we're gonna cover a lot. Uh, we're gonna cover some tough topics, right? Weight loss and health it's so personal for people, right?
Definitely.
It is, and it's a tough thing to talk to about people because it is so personal,
Right.
right? So we'll cover that. We'll cover weight loss. We'll cover weight gain. We'll cover strength and conditioning. We'll cover um, all the things that we deal with really every day in our everyday life with people. Like
Right.
when we post content and we talk about stuff in this podcast, we're going to talk about stuff that we see every day from people, right? You see every day from people. Um,
Right.
this is not just, hey, let's post some content about this or that. No, it's probably something with a conversation we had with somebody today,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
So that's our purpose. We want people to connect with us here, engage with us, comment on any posts, any content we do. So if there's things you're interested in or want to know about, we want to cover it, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's our goal with this podcast. Like I said, this is episode one. Our first goal is to say who we are, what we do, while we're here. We're looking at coming out podcasts every 2 weeks, right? Um, covering all subject matter that we hope you guys are interested in.
Definitely. And I mean, this has been a goal of ours for a really long time to start something like this and
Mhm,
just be able to voice again like the truth behind the things that we're doing and maybe help somebody realize like am I standing in my own way or is there something I could be doing better? Is there something that I could go after that's a better habit change?
mhm,
Anything like that. And we've always said, you know, the more people that we can help, the better we obviously feel, but
mhm.
also that more people can take responsibility for their own personal health journey.
Yeah, I think the key work there is responsibility and accountability for where you are in life with your health and
Exactly.
wellness. What can you do? To me, there's always been a sense of freedom knowing that I am personally responsible for where I'm at this moment in time, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is. I am personally responsible for where I'm at, right?
100%.
It's really nobody else's fault. It's really not up to anybody else. It's really up to me. And the hard thing to do as a human being is if you're in a bad place, if you're 100 pounds overweight, if you're struggling in your job, if you're struggling in your career, if you're doing something that you're struggling, it is hard to sometimes sit back and go, I'm here because of me and it's my fault. The freedom part of that is if it's 100% your fault and your responsibility for where you're at, then you don't need anybody else to pull yourself out of that place,
Yeah, it's so
right?
empowering. So
And
empowering.
and there's freedom in that. And there's a guy I used to know years ago that um owned a really, really, really big business, the insurance business. And I only dealt and had a relationship with him for a couple of years as a friend. And it was the number one thing that he always said: take responsibility for where you're at if you don't like it. Understanding that the freedom is it's 100% you're responsible and you don't need anybody else to get out of that situation,
Mhm.
right? If you are 100 pounds overweight, yes, there are tons of factors that go into that, right? There are tons of ways from the way you grew up, the culture you were in, how you were raised. So many factors are in that. It's not easy, but it's reversible, it's changeable.
Right.
You can change your identity and become somebody different.
Right.
And it's all on you. Nobody ever said it's going to be easy, right? But man, can you imagine if you were in a bad spot in all areas of your life and you needed to rely on other people because it was their fault and now you got to wait for them to get better.
Yeah.
No, it's on you. It's 100% on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 100% on you. When people talk about, people always ask me, like, well, how, dude, I don't know if people ask you about this, right? I've had people say, who's that woman in your video? Right? I'm like, that woman. And
Feels be weird. It feels weird to be called a woman.
well, well, they're like, I'm a woman. I was Gray. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh no, it's business partner. I said, she's awesome. Like, we do the video. Like, it's totally awesome. They're like, how do you guys make that? I said, it just works, y'all. I'm like, you know what I'm
It
saying?
just-
It just works, y'all. They're like, how did you meet? I said, I basically stalked her in the gym. She knew a guy, she trained with a guy. I stalked her in the gym. I finally went up to her and was like, a guy that we both knew introduced us, and I was like, "What's your story?" And all of a sudden, we're doing videos, and all of a sudden, we're doing the
Yeah.
podcast. Right? You know what I'm saying? That's
All of a
literally
sudden
how
we
it
own a
was.
business
We own
together.
a business, and it's crazy because like the one thing I noticed was one, you always worked out, you had a plan, and I watched you slowly make these body changes. And I watched your body change over time in a healthy way. And I'm like, that girl's got it figured out. She comes in here, she wears matching yellow tops and bottoms. I'm
I was
not
on
kidding.
that shit for a while.
You
I
were-
was on yellow for
and
a while.
I'm like, she works out. She's literally shrink wrapped her body over time slowly. And I'm like, there's a story here, right? And then we started doing these videos and it works. And it's funny, people are like, who's that woman? I'm like, Gray? What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean,
yeah,
woman?
how do you, it's like, and when you lived in Montana, I was like, how's it work when she lived in Montana? It's like, well, we got the internet, y'all. I mean, it's not hard,
I know.
right?
Not
Because
hard.
the number one goal you said was, I want to be able to be in the industry, but live and move and go wherever I wanted to. I don't care if it was, at the time, it was Australia, right? And then
Yeah.
COVID hit, and then Australia got weird, right? Started arresting
Right.
people on the beach, and
And I would have
COVID,
never been able to
yeah,
come home. Yeah.
yeah, and COVID got weird, and Australia got weird, and then turned in from Australia to Montana,
Yeah.
right?
So like there's no I'm like, wouldn't you think if I wanted to move to Australia, I'd move somewhere like, I don't know, Florida or California? I said, let me choose the coldest state that I can think of.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move there.
moved to Montana, right? So that's how we formed, and that's how we became Phenom Brand Fitness and Nutrition. And we're gonna bring on a lot of different people in this podcast. And I've talked to, I mean, we already have a list of a lot of people that we want to bring
Yeah.
on this thing for a couple of people. People, one, they work in the industry. Two, they fought battles that we want our audience to relate to,
Hmm.
right? Um, Man, it's really easy. It's much easier to get healthy, get in shape when you hear stories of other people who were at the same place you were and what they did
And then they've done it.
and
Yeah.
that they've done it and that you can do it too, right?
Yeah. 100%.
I have people that I'm interested in bringing on that deal in youth sports that talk about the importance and healthy, positive experiences in youth sports and how they connected to youth being connected to exercise.
Yeah.
The first place so many kids are exposed to exercise is in youth sports.
Yeah.
And y'all, there's very few things in life outside of politics more toxic than youth sports.
Yeah.
I live in it
I
every
youth
day.
sports is politics. Like
It
I look
is.
back on my
Yeah.
soccer career and it's basically the same thing, except
Mm-hmm.
I was like 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no difference. But I keep telling so many people over and over again, I think the biggest change that has to happen is in our youth because that's where we're
Yes.
learning stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, my aunt sent me a study the other day. It was like the children are like the laziest they've ever been.
Yeah.
And it starts when we're young.
And
It starts with
that's a painful conversation, right? Because people have seen
yeah.
that JFK um quote where he was talking about in the 60s that it pains him to see soft, fat, lazy kids.
But I agree.
I
It
know, but
pains me
like
to see it.
you watch that and then you go look at the comments and you have people be like, I don't believe he's talking about kids that way. I'm like, y'all, have you seen kids these days? Like, and listen, I have a 7-year-old and I struggle with like throwing the podcast and throwing the iPad in his face when he's bothering me, right? Like, I get it,
Yeah.
right? It's hard. But we're talking about a culture where 70% of kids quit sports by the age of 13,
Yeah.
right? More and more kids are getting hurt in sports. Nothing will deter a kid from playing sports and being active than an injury.
Yeah,
Nothing,
100%. And
nothing.
it's like you've talked so many times before of like being so gung ho on one specific sport and not
Yeah.
exposing yourself to other sports. Like I know we've talked about that before. There's so much in the youth, and like I talk a lot to my clients too about nutrition inside of our youth. And I work with some parents, and I'm like, the first step that we always talk about is like changing inside of your home. And
No.
even if you don't have kids
Yeah.
yet, if you're preparing to have kids, you're gonna have kids one day, we want to have those steps already put in place so that you raise a healthy home.
Yeah. Habits, I say habits are caught, not taught. That's crazy.
Mhm.
We say this. Um, I just had a conversation with a guy that moved to town that got hired as a football coach. And we were talking about his son. And I won't say we're talking about his son. And I was like, hey, is your kid like the weight room? It's like, well, he's seen dad grow up in the weight room. So he loves the weight room. And I'm like, and when I hear coaches, people say that, I said, the opposite is true too. If they grow up watching dad eat donuts and sit on the couch,
That's what they're going to do.
right? I don't know. Again, we have such an age difference. That's one of the greatest things I love about it is people. We have like a 19-year age difference here, right? With 20
Yeah.
and when people are like, God, your content looks cool. I was like, I got a business partner in her 20s. She told me that you could have subtitles on reels, and it blew my mind. Right? I was like, you can have subtitles on Instagram reels. That makes sense. We went to the moon too,
But
right?
it really is like we complement each other so well on
Yeah,
the things that we both need.
yeah,
Like I'll keep you young, you
yeah,
keep me wise. Like
yeah.
it's just
I
it
hope so. I don't
works.
know. God bless you if you're waiting. If you're leaning on me to keep you wise, God bless.
Well, at least
But
in our realm
yeah,
of
yeah.
education.
And I don't know if you remember the old when they tried to come out with all these anti-drug commercials back in the day, and when I was a kid, like dared dare to keep kids off drugs, and somebody would show up and talk to you about dare, and we had all these commercials,
Oh
and
yeah, I did the dare thing, the
did
safety
you
patrol.
did you
Hmm.
and like they had the guy with the commercial with the eggs, and he this is your brain. Shh, this is your brain on drugs, right?
Hmm.
And it's crazy. Now we turn around 2024 and I see a commercial on a billboard driving down the road for ketamine for depression. And I'm like, holy
Hmm.
crap. Now we're coming to now we're giving kids special K, right? But
Yeah.
the old commercial where the dad goes into the kid's room, he's listening to music, and he finds this box of marijuana, and he's like, where did you learn to do this? I'm like, I learned from watching you. And then it cuts off and it goes away, right? And I'm like, and I mean, we laugh about that now. We don't laugh about it, but it just shows that like kids learn from watching their parents,
Yeah.
right? Um, I sometimes have a horrible mouth, and my kid keeps me accountable, right? But I'm like, man, I never want my kid sometimes to speak and use the words, but he slipped up and said things, right? Um, but habits are caught. They start in the home. Um, one of the toughest conversations I ever had with a parent about their kid with nutrition was they emailed me and said, hey, can you help me? All Billy wants to eat at the house are hot dogs. I'm like, well, his name was Billy. And I said, well, why are hot dogs in the home? I said, I'll tell you why hot dogs in the home, because he's watching William, Big Bill, the dad, probably smash down 15 hot dogs a night
Yeah.
with a gallon of sweet tea. I said, that's why Billy likes hot dogs. I was like, if you want to change Billy's nutrition, and he was like
Yeah.
13, 14. I'm like, then mom and dad, then Brenda and William need to start eating better themselves.
Yeah.
And they replied back, I get it, dot, dot, dot. Like, I know. It's just ain't gonna,
But
it's
it's
just,
so true. It's so true. Like if you want your kid to change a habit, you also have to change the habit yourself.
yeah, the home
You
needs to
know,
change. The home needs to
home
change,
has to
right?
change.
Yeah,
Home
atomic
has to
habits, right?
change.
The importance,
Definitely.
the importance of your environment with habit change, right?
Yeah, because your kid is going to learn no matter what,
It's the
whatever they
number one,
see.
the number one book I talk to people when they talk about weight loss is read Atomic Habits. They're
Hmm.
like, what, it has nutrition advice? I said, no, not really, not
I got it
specifically,
right there.
but yes, it does, but not really, but yes, it does,
Yeah.
right? So those are a ton of the topics we're going to cover. Um, I'm hoping we have people from even different viewpoints,
Yeah, we
right?
love conversation.
Yeah, even different viewpoints. Bring on somebody who thinks the answer to the whole obesity epidemic is a shot. Bring that guy on. I'm fine. That doesn't bother me. I want to have that accountability. I want to have that conversation. I want to understand people's perspective. I want our audience to understand people's perspective, right?
Right.
Bring on the vegan and bring on the guy who supports carnivore
Yeah.
for two reasons. One, completely opposite view. Two, bring it on so our public realizes or our population realizes that this industry's screwed
It,
because we have
ugh.
somebody that'll tell you carnivore diet's the way to life, only eat meat, and then we have people that tell you to never eat meat and that's the way to health. If you want an example of why it's so hard to get in shape and find information, because you have multiple people that believe ultimate ends of the spectrum. 90% of the time, the happiness and the goal, the truth is somewhere in the middle. But every person I do a consult with says they're just so confused of what they see online.
100%. But it's also like, and we'll get into this in later topics too. It comes back to education around nutrition.
Mhm.
We don't have any. There is no nutrition class unless you specify in college that you're going to go into dietetics. Like that's it, right?
Mhm.
Even doctors that go into med school, they only do a handful, maybe one lecture on
Yeah.
nutrition. So
And
do
guys, we
they
don't
really
say that. We
know?
don't we don't say that out of guessing. We say that because we have personal relationships with friends going through med school, people going through PA school, people going through the education right now
Or
as we
have their
speak.
PhDs already?
Yes, that will come to us and say, all I learned how to do in college was prescribe, right? Will never go to my general practice person or my regular doctor for health advice.
Yeah,
I
100%.
will not. I will go if I feel that I am so sick I need an antibiotic. And at that point, I almost have to be dead. Like,
Like I need an antibiotic. Like I
like
know
I'm
that I
going to
need an antibiotic.
die, right? I just
100%.
need you to prescribe me medicine.
Like I need a Z pack
That's
immediately.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I do
And
not go to them.
to bring that further, and you can start applying this in your life, this has been very changing for me personally. I will not see a doctor, a massage therapist, a recovery specialist, anybody unless they lift weights. I won't do it because
Well, yeah.
I know that their personal goal doesn't align with how I want to live my life. And that's
Mhm.
fine, fair be it.
Yeah.
But I need somebody to treat me who aligns with the same goals that I have because they have the same understanding of how to live a lifestyle similar to mine.
Wow. That's a
It's made a
strong,
world of
no,
difference.
yeah. And that's a strong statement, right? That's a strong statement because I don't have perfect health habits,
No,
right?
and I don't expect perfect
Right.
health habits. If I see my doctor out on a Friday night having a glass of wine, like go do it. Like my
Yeah.
gynecologist doesn't necessarily do all the same things that I do, but she has a really good understanding of what health should look like.
Hmm.
And that's why I continue to go to her. It doesn't mean I need my gynecologist to lift weights every single day, but like she lives a very healthy lifestyle as far as what's important to her.
Would you
And
ever
that's
go to
why
a
I really
Would you ever go to a dude gynecologist?
I mean, I don't care that much as long as like I kept my gynecologist in Columbia because I feel like I know all the gynecologists here personally, or like I know their children, and I just don't want that. Like I'm good, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Just we can keep it at an arm's length.
Yeah. I mean, if I get pregnant and, live here forever, I'm gonna have to find a gynecologist that lives
Yeah.
here, but I might just have to drive a little bit because I'm like, I don't really want your mother looking at me. Thank you.
No. Or your
That might be
father.
weird, but like, yeah, or your father. I've had
Yeah.
a guy gynecologist before. It didn't bother me, but like, I just want to make sure that I don't know their children. Which is not that they would ever say anything. It's
Yeah.
literally against the law for them to say anything, but I'm still just
Yeah.
like,
You never want them going, hey,
"Eh,
I saw Gray in the office last night. You're like, stop, it's awkward.
for what? Why was she there? Say for blood work or was it
You know
something else?
what? I had to give her a ton of penicillin. Whatever Gray's got going on.
That's a lie.
We should
Do
probably
not run off on
we should
that.
we should probably we should probably end on this. So guys, this is the
Where can
first
you find
episode.
us, Josh?
I
Where
think
can you
you
find
can find
us?
us on, yes, we are on Instagram. Okay. I am on Instagram. Gray is on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I shoot my mouth off on Twitter and get in trouble all the time for it. Um, we'll have our YouTube. Every time we send out posts, we'll share her Instagram, my Instagram, our business Instagram. Um, don't you think Instagram's the best place to find
Yeah,
us?
definitely. My Instagram is my last name, Gaines X Gray.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no dots, no underscores or anything. It's
Yep.
just Gaines X Gray.
Yep.
Gaines by Gray. Josh's, I think yours is Joshua
Joshua dot
dot Ortegan
Ortegan
dot
dot fitness.
fitness.
That needs to
Yeah.
change, man. That's too. That was a long explanation, but
Lengthy. It's
yeah.
lengthy. Our business
At
one is at
Phenom
Phenom
Fitness.
Fitness.
Yep.
Yep. PHNM.
Yep. And we will be rocking episode 2. We'll cut this up, get this out, and we are good to go. We will talk to everybody soon.
Bye. We love you.
And we have to figure out how to
Stop.